So many of our Crimson students and our Crimson families have been talking about this amazing Wall Street Journal article that came out recently looking into Crimson student successes and how many of our kids really appreciate the life transforming experience that they had as they came through the ranks here at Crimson. However, in this article, we do also see a couple of critiques. So, this admissions officer at Penn says, how can Crimson have any kind of edge when they don't really have an insight into what goes on at the Penn admissions office because what they're looking at and what they want every year changes?
It's a great question. And let me teleport you for a second to Wall Street, where you have thousands and thousands of analysts who are outside companies studying companies like Google, Nike, Amazon. They've got detailed industry research. They study the supply chain, speak to folks who are in and out of these companies, and they're able to forecast how they're performing. It isn't rocket science to draw the analogy straight to college admissions. We, as experts of these universities, have sent often hundreds of students to certain universities or tiers of universities. Many of us have studied at these top schools. I went to UPenn myself, for example. We, of course, look at all this data. For example, faculty hiring in certain departments, new centers that are opening up, new questions they're asking, and how things have changed year over year. All of these things provide clues into what they're looking for and what comes next. We're also lucky to have thousands of previous application essays, Common Apps, and rich data on who's getting in and why to certain schools. This, coupled with former admissions officers that used to work in the admissions office at schools like UPenn, give us, I would say, almost crystal ball-like insight into some of these universities. Do we know which orchestra wants an oboe player next year for sure? No. But do we know, for example, broadly, that there's huge appetite, for example, at Harvard to grow the number of students pursuing African American studies? Absolutely. Do we know that Stanford's just released a brand new sustainability center and they need more folks in that department? Absolutely. These are the types of considerations that fuel Crimson's success. The other thing is Crimson isn't just about picking the pattern, picking the trend, seeing what boxes open for our kids to jump into. It's actually 98% about training and growth. It's about taking a student who doesn't yet have their full best version of themselves unlocked and helping them harness their academics, their extracurriculars, their leadership, and actually growing into the best version of themselves. 98% of our work is about that growth. It's about taking a student and helping them be a better version of themselves. And that, of course, is helping that freshman at UPenn perform well on campus. We've sent more than 200 kids to UPenn, so hopefully UPenn likes our students.
And I'll hit you with another hot take here from a Yale admissions officer who said, college counseling is unlikely to help you and may actually hurt you. And we often reject students who seem inauthentic or are just a list of accomplishments or achievements without soul or character. How do you respond to that one?
So I would draw probably a distinction between different types of college counseling in various parts of the world. We've got a unique lens on this because Crimson is the largest global provider of college counseling. We're in more than 20 countries. In a place like Korea, I would say this is a very fair criticism. There are many college counseling firms that don't care about authenticity at all. They focus on farming students through similar sets of activities, getting them through competitions, and the students emerge with laundry lists of resumes and awards and activities, but without a sense of soul, purpose, or compelling candidacy case. Crimson's different. We've lived and breathed these campuses, and we understand these universities want students that have clear intellectual vitality in certain areas. For me, that was things like game theory, development economics, psychology. For others, that could be, for example, bioethics or astrophysics. At Crimson, we help our students actually finding what paths are they excited by, what competitions and honors unlock that enthusiasm, and how they can turn up to campus with a clear vision for their future. The simple question to answer this is as follows. If you think about a student who just goes to school, comes home, and sits at home online, versus a Crimson student, who's going to extracurriculars, competitions, meeting kids around the world, speaking to professors, doing research, meeting you, Anderson, doing competitions and masterclasses, which student's more likely to understand themselves better? And I would say, obviously, it's the second. And that's why Crimson students have been thriving for a decade. We've sent more than 1,000 kids to the world's best universities in the Ivy League, more than 6,000 to top 50 US universities, and I've had the fortune of studying at almost all the top schools myself. We know what it takes to build authentic world-class students, and we take pride in seeing our students thrive when they get through the Ivy League doors.
And one final question that we often get from parents, and I want to hear your thoughts on this one too. Do you add any actual value to your students, or do you just pick and choose students to help who are already going to get into these top schools anyway?
I actually just left a training for an incoming cohort of our counselors, and Crimson's got the world's biggest roster of admissions counselors that specialize in Ivy League admissions and top tier universities. In that training, We went through case study after case study of students when they join us when they're 14, 15, the challenges they have, and how you actually help the student unlock their potential. The reality is the vast proportion of students joining Crimson have to do substantial improvements across many areas. They don't yet have their time management skills nailed. They don't yet know what they want to study at university. They don't yet have a school list they want to develop. And so Crimson plays an enormous role in helping them build that best version of themselves and ultimately be a better applicant for college with more decisiveness. Of course, it'd be an easy day in the office if all of our students turned up magical, but I would say it's Crimson that often is working with our families and our students to add some magic to them. And of course, our students' incredible hard work for years and years and years, and their families and schools and communities as well.
Awesome.